Okay. Welcome to this live, and we're doing a breakdown of the code that I used in creating this game, The Legend of Ikemba. Now, this game was completely created using visual scripting inside Godot engine, and we use Godot 4 to actually create it. And this project, I want to actually do a detailed breakdown. I've already made a video on that, so but I want this to be a more of a live video that we're actually doing today. And this live will entail things about the game. Maybe you have a specific thing you want to ask about this game, and I can actually get to answer it. So even after the live, you can always ask something about the game, and I will actually address that question. So I'm going to do a full breakdown of the entire code that was used to make this game. So right now I'm in my scene where I have my player. So if you actually go to the main scene, let me just go to the main scene, and you see that the main scene has just the world environment around it with a dome. So this is how this game was built. If you actually play the game, you see that it's if you check the links in the description, the game is an infinite runner. So you just keep running. So the dynamics of the game, or the way it was created, is that the player is just running one spot while this bridge keeps on spawning, and as it's spawning itself, it's passing through here and deleting. So I'm just going to explain first. Before I go into the main code, I'm going to explain everything that has to do with these games here from this main scene here. If you look at this main scene, the first thing you see is the player running. So I have a player that is actually running, and if you click here, you see that I have a particular collision shape, and that collision shape is actually under this deleter. I call it deleter. So deleter is a particular object that deletes whenever this particular thing touches it. So whenever it's passing, so I think I should have another one here. So this is another deleter. So this particular deleter here is deleter that deletes all the enemies, the demons that actually there is, because the idea of the game is that you have demon heads, coming from this portal and coming to you, and then you have to be jumping over them or dodging them, whichever one you actually want to. So this deleter is for those demon heads. So whenever those demon heads, when you don't touch them, they touch this particular object here, and then they get deleted immediately once they are touched, once they touch this particular place. So that means that you don't have excess spawning of the enemies in your scene. So that is a very important thing. If not, your scenes can begin to lag. So over here I have, and also I have the treasure that helps to power up the player. So if the life of the player is going down because it's touching the demons, when it touches the treasure is just like a sort of simple. Let me see if I can see the treasure here. It's like a lamp. So okay, no, not this particular one. Let me see if I can find it. It's just a very simple thing, the treasure spawner. So okay, this is the spawner itself. Okay, look at the treasure here. This is the treasure. This is actually what powers the player whenever he touches it. And while the demon's call is the enemy that is being spawned. So whenever this is spawned, it touches the player and the life starts going down and it sheds blood. So those are things that we did with the particle system in the game. So over here you have another deleter. So this deleter here is for deleting the bridge. So you have the bridge here because the bridge was programmed to keep on, moving continuously. If you want to go into the codes for each of these things, you actually see it. So I'm going to explain that. So once this is passing, you actually see that it keeps on. In case, please, if you're watching me and you're not seeing my screen, please tell me so that I will actually share the screen again. I think sometimes YouTube usually cuts me off. I don't know if it's from YouTube or from my system. So you can just comment in write in the comments that you're not seeing my screen because I'm actually sharing my screen currently. So as I was saying, this bridge keeps on moving on its own. So once you start the game, it starts moving. And once it moves, the player just keeps on jumping and then the other things are just spawning. So this particular thing here, once it touches it, once the bridge touches it, it deletes the bridge too. So that's another good one that it does for it. Over here, by at the back here, and these are just props that I actually put here, just more like nothing is really happening here, just the door that I have here and the light that I have here. So over here at the back, let me see if I can find those things. There are objects here that can spawn. They are quite invisible though. You can't see them. Okay, let me see if I can touch them. Okay, look at them here. Enemy spawners. So this is the key element of the game. In fact, when I was doing my research for this game, this was one of the most difficult part of the game. So you have the three enemy spawners. So you are spawning the ones that are coming from this side, from the center, and from the right side. So if you actually go into the game, it's the code, you actually see it there. I'm going to go into the codes, but I want you to see how everything actually works first from the main scene. So these spawners will spawn the enemies, and enemies will just keep on coming from here, from the door. So it's going to appear as if it's actually coming through this door, okay? But in reality, it's just coming from these objects here. So that's how we're able to get that infinite illusion of an infinite runner. So we don't have to, imagine if we want to run infinitely and you have this bridge, built for a very long distance, you're not even carrying. So we're using this spawn and delete to be able to spawn our bridge, spawn our enemies, and then have, those things deleting them continuously. So once this guy spawns, the other one over there deletes. So that's basically the thing about this game. So one other thing inside here is that we'll have our lights. If you look at the lights that you have here, let me just turn off the lights so you see. So we'll have the light. That's what we use in making it look, very, very amazing. And if you look at how shiny and how glittering this particular scene is, so that's the lights that we actually use for. Now, coming to the models, I think that's another thing you have to bear in mind. These models were created using Meshi.ai. So I used a lot of AI to create some things. But then the first version of the game was created, I made everything inside Blender. So, but when I wanted to now do this, I looked at the level of work I wanted to create. I knew that it was going to take a lot of time. So I decided to use AI. So I just used, create, I told AI, that is a Meshi AI, to create a bridge for me, and he created this bridge with magical crystals on the edges. So if you look at this thing, that's what he created for me, and these things were created just very, very fast, and it was quite very amazing. So after that, I had to use the fogs. If you look at the fog here, the fog is actually found in the environment. So that's what I use in putting up to give this place a more special kind of look. Okay, so if you actually remove that fog, you see that this place will look very plain, but with the fog, it looks much more dense and serious. So over here, we'll have, let me go to the player and show you something I put on the player. So I have my particle system. The particle system is a system I created to emit blood, okay? And whenever the player is hit by the enemy, he emits blood. Let me see if it can emit here. Yep, and that's when the blue one is actually when you get the treasure when your life comes up. While the blood, that's the second one, is when you hit the enemy and it gives you that. So I used particle system to do that. So now I had to do this inside this particular. You can actually get this project for free, completely for free, on my each account. The link is actually in the description of this live, so you can actually check it out there and you can be able to see it. So basically, you can be able to build, or whatever you want to do. You can be able to learn this code and everything inside it. I'm still going to do more of the breakdown. I'm still coming. I'm just explaining the dynamics of the game. So over here we'll have the other things. We'll have the animation and other things, the camera. So the camera I use here is a camera phantom camera. That's what I actually used in this particular game. So I didn't go to use a normal camera. So that's the reason. If you look at when the game you are playing the game, when you move to one side, or if you use normal camera without the proper code, because I didn't write any particular code, I just used the phantom camera add-on to do this particular effect that I did here with the camera. So it's you can actually see some videos on phantom camera on my channel where I actually explain how to use it properly. So basically, I also have some music. So now coming to the music and the particles. So I added the particles and the music inside the scene because I realized that if you add these things in another scene and import it to this place, sometimes it malfunctions when you're trying to use video scripting on it. Okay. So I think probably I have to discover how to do some absolute kind of a way of being able to work with it. So, but what I did here was that to make it easy for me, I had to use the audio system that's the sound. So these sounds that you have a sound for the, it is the music that I have here. And also I have other things like when you collect the coin or the treasure. So that is a treasure that usually comes when you're playing the game. So when it comes, you can just be able to do that. So I'm going to actually play this game and later, but we want to just do a breakdown. And feel free to ask, okay, Alex, yeah, hello. You have any question and can you see my screen? There is also a question and answer session. Okay, okay, that's good. All right. So you're welcome to my life. Okay, so do you have any question? So if you have any question, just go ahead to ask. I'm doing a breakdown of this game. This game has been published on e.io. You can be able to see it. Okay, not for now. Okay, all right, no problem. Okay, so I was talking about the audio, so you can add the audio. Now, also you have the UI on display. So if you actually go into the TDC, you see you have your UI. And the two UIs I actually added here is first, I added my UI for my mobile phone. So in case I actually bought this, because currently you just put it only for Windows. I'm going to still create the version for Android. Okay. So that particular one, I use this joystick, video joystick. I think I have a video on this, okay, how to be able to use this. This is an add-on that enables you to be able to put a virtual joystick controller on your game without actually going to do long codes. So here is the life of the player. So this life is just comprised of just some basic sprites, okay, and then the progress bar. So you look at the progress bar, and I have to program the progress bar to be able to go up or down whenever you hit the enemy or you actually hit the treasure. So those are the things. Now, this game is an infinite run, it's an endless runner. So there is no end to the game per se. It's actually a high score kind of game. Like if you're playing something like Snake, okay, it's a high score kind of game where your aim is to stay as long as possible. I'm going to be doing a series that I'll be posting on my shorts and also my videos of my highest score. So because currently I think I've not been able to reach up to 100 points on the game. Okay, so but I'll be playing the game. So if you want to play the game along with me on Windows, you can actually download the game. The link to the game is in the description of this video. You can also go to my description of my YouTube channel to actually get that. So you can actually play the game and it's completely free for you to play. So I'm going to be playing that and I'll see how the high score I'm going to get. So that's how I was able to get a progress bar. So the progress bar is what I use for the life of the player. So the life is like, what's thing. So the game, the whole idea of the game is that you are running, you are trying to survive, you're trying to stay alive because as you keep on going, on and on, the enemies are coming because you have more of the enemies or more of the dragon's core hell or demon's core. That's what I called it. They keep on coming to you and you have to keep on dodging them always. So now let's go into the breakdown of the actual code. Okay, I think we are done with this scene here. So that's just everything that we'll have here. So let's go into the actual code. Okay. So now first, let me start with the player code. So the player code is very, very simple. So the first thing I'm showing you here is that we have grouped this player to be as part of group. Okay. So if you come in here, it's in your node, you see that it's grouped under player. So that this will enable me to be able to use it whenever I'm, trying to, maybe when the player hits the enemy, so that it will detect that it's the player. So in case the enemy hits maybe the bridge or hits some other object, it does not react. It doesn't bring down the life of the player. It's only when it hits a particular body with a collision that is under the group player. So that's how I created it. So if you don't know how to do this, I think I already made a video on the basis of Godot 4.4. You can be able to check out that and see how you can create, things like that. But basically, you just click on plus sign, you type in the name, and make sure you select the particular node you want to put in a group, and that's how you can create it. And you make it global if you want it to be seen all over the entire game. So over here, I have the first thing I have here is my Node 3D, and the next thing I have is the Legend of Ikemba, that's the character, okay, the character body 3D. That's what I use here. Now, the origin of this character, okay, so let's talk about the digital origin of this character, not the story origin or the game story origin of this character. I'm talking about the digital origin. So I got this character from Mixamo. So when I brought it, it's had blue colored clothes and hairs and a lot of things on it. So for me to make it unique, I had to remove a lot of things. I imported inside Blender. I started removing a lot of things on the body. After removing those things, and I had to build a sort of headband for it. So for the player, for the character. So and to add a twist to this thing, is actually I made it a female. Although Ikemba is actually a male name in Africa, in Igbo language or in Igbo. So mainly is, but I added as a title. So the Ikemba, if you actually go down to the storyline of the origin of this character, she's actually a princess and she had to sacrifice herself to save her people by running on the Phantom Bridge. So that's the idea of the story. If you actually go to the game, you actually see the story. If you go to the game, you see the story of the game. So it's actually about a kingdom that is being overrun by a witch or doctor or whatever, a wizard, and she had to sacrifice herself to divert the power of the enemy by running the Phantom Bridge. So the Phantom Bridge is like a bridge between the world of the spirit and the world of the living. So she sacrificed herself and she now had to be, running there. So the idea was that I made Ikemba to be like a title instead of the name. So the title is in Igbo language, Ikemba means the strength of a nation. So she became the strength of a nation by sacrificing herself because she was the only person that had it because she was a virgin and she was one that had to sacrifice herself to run on this bridge forever. So I had to think of a game that I could create that will enable me to have a story and also be simple because I think this is my first official game I actually finished and published. I have a lot of games that I have not published, a lot of them. So, but this is the official game I had to publish. Although some people are like, okay, you have to make it a bit more robust. But I think this captures exactly what I wanted to achieve. So now, like I said, this character comes from Mixamo. So when you export it from Blender as a GLB file, it comes in and then you import it into Godot engine. It comes in here as a node 3D, okay? So I think the node that it comes in here, then I have to right click and change that root node of this particular player into, just go to change type and then change it into a character body 3D. Okay, just type character body 3D and then you change it. So when you change it, before you even start writing the code, so because it will video link and make it work, okay? So the other things like amateur, skeleton 3D, this and the animation player, okay, the animation player, these are the things that comes with it. So because I imported it with animations, okay? So I have done a tutorial on how to be able to import characters with multiple animations on my channel. You can actually go out and check it. If you can't find it, just put it in the comments and I will make it possible for you to see. I'll just find it for you and send you the link immediately on the comments. So now, once you import that, you have the animation tree that you use. So in the animation tree I used here was let me go to my inspector, and I use the animation node blend tree to be able to blend three animations. So if you see here, I have the animation slide, although I didn't really use that. So I have the jump, and then you have also the run. So then I use this time scale to be able to scale the run. If you want it to be running faster or slower, those are the things you can be able to do. So over here, to be able to get this, you can just right click and get animation. So once you get the animation, you can click here and get this. But before you can have access to the animations on a particular animation player, you have to remember, I think I've made a video on how to use um, animation tree node. Okay, I have a tutorial on that. All these things are on my channel. I think I've made a lot of videos on my channel, so just go ahead and watch it. So you just go over here and select this, and once you select that, you can be able to go and the anime player, you click here and then you find that particular anime player and they assign it to it. So that's how you do that. So I added my collision shape because once you add this, it's going to be prompting you that this is a character body 3D, but it doesn't have a collision. So you have to add a collision to it. So then we'll have the camera 3D. So the camera 3D and the phantom camera, that's what I use here. So that's what comes in with this. It comes with the phantom camera. So I have a video on how to add a phantom camera. You can also check that on my channel. If you can't find it, just put in the comments. I will get the link for you and put in the comments. So now for the code itself, the code is very, very simple. The first thing I used was my ready function. So the ready events, and I set the animation tree to be active. So if you want to drag codes, let's say for example, I want to write a code for my animation tree to be played whenever this game starts. So I'll just select the animation tree and look at the active here. You can drag codes from outside here. Just select drag and you just drag it in here. You can set active. So you see that you can just have it there. So that's one of the things you can do. So I just did this. Formally you can be able to use this in case for any reason you turn off your animation or whatever you have done. I just use it to keep my animation playing always because this is an endless runner. If it wasn't an endless runner, I might not really need this. Okay, I might need to make it to be sort of the idle animation. That's the one I will set. So over here, I have my gravity and the jump. So those are the two things I use. So the gravity itself is more like a vector. So this vector now is a vector 3D. So if you want to create a variable, once you click here on the plus sign and you create a variable, the variable can now be changed. The variable type, you can change it to any type. So what I used for my gravity was the vector 3. And then I set the y-axis because the y-axis is the upwards and downwards movement. So I set the y-axis to -3. So that means that it's going to be going down. So that's how I simulated my gravity for my player. Then I have a jump speed to be 2, and it's an integer. Is what I'm going to be using to multiply the delta for jumping, for making my character to be able to jump. So now over here, the first thing I now did here was to add my physics process, and then to my physics process, I added my sequence. So my sequence now will enable me to be able to put multiple instructions that my game can do whenever something happens. So I have my sequence, and I will now say the first sequence I put here was for the run animation. So if you remember the run from the animation tree node, if you click on animation tree node, you actually see that the animation tree node comes with a few parameters. That's where I got this from. So if you select this, you go down to the parameters. So you see where I have my blend tree and then blend amount. So you can drag this out and set. So whatever you set, so the value 1 is for 1. Look at it here. So that's the one I set. If you want to jump, you can set this to 0. So that means that it will just be jumping infinitely, but that's not what we want. Or if you have any other animation, you can do -1. So those are the ones it has. It just has 3 points because it's blending 3 animations all at once. So over here we'll have, so I just use this to make it to be able to keep on, running continuously. So over here I have my branch, so I had to bring this out and add my branch. So the branch is more like the if statement in your code. Okay, so if you're writing a code, the if statement is the branch. So you can simply get that by right-clicking and typing branch. Okay, if you put your branch, you can just so the branch can be used to put an if statement. So once I put my branch, I now have to add my action. The same thing, you right click and type action and you can get action, and I put the action. So the action here is my UI left. So I want you to move left, towards the left. That was the goal of this particular one. So what I did was that I used my translate. So if you right click and you type translate, as long as your node here is character, you will have access to all these things here. So I have my translate and added my translate, and my translate is moving on the x-axis. So if you actually go into the 3D scene and you go and check, see the x-axis, okay? So the x-axis is moving towards this way. So if it's positive x, it moves towards the left. If it's negative x, it moves towards the right. So that's the axis that we'll actually have. So that's what we did. So we did it we did it 0.05, so it moves towards the left axis. So then when I added the move and slide, so the move and slide enables you to be able to move and collide with objects. Because if you look at the game, the bridge has collisions on the edges, on the walls of the bridge. So like the guide of the bridge, so that you don't fall off the bridge. Because if not, you will be running, and if you get too close to the edge of the bridge, you actually fall off the bridge. So, but I had to add that, and then you have to put this move and collide or move and slide so that it doesn't pass through it. It's collides and it doesn't pass through. So that is a very important code. So the same thing is what I did for my UI right, for moving towards the right. You do your branch, you do your translate, but this time around you make it to be negative, and then you go for the move and slide again. So like I said before, this code is available, this template is available for you to study on your own, but I'm doing a breakdown of it and how I did every single thing there. So in case you come across that project and you don't know how to use it, you can ask any question, I will answer it. In the comments also, you can do that. So now let me continue. I have here. So for the jump and the gravity, so I gave a code here. So I have the branch. So from the sequence, I have a new branch. And the first condition I gave the branch is call is on floor. So if you just right click, you can just do it's on floor. And you can be able to get that call is on floor. So it's telling you that if it's on the floor, that means that it's on an edge that it cannot pass. Okay, if it can't go down any longer, then you should check whether also I have a new branch, another branch to it, and then also you press up button, okay? That's up arrow on the keyboard because this is actually designed for Windows. Then it should play the jump. So this parameter we have here is jump, just like I explained how we got the other one. All right, thank you for the like. You can always comment if you have any question on what we're doing. We are doing a breakdown of the life. You're welcome to our life. So now I have the 0 here. So the 0 is for the jump. So your player can be able to jump, whenever the branch is clicked, okay? Or sorry, whenever the up arrow is clicked, you can be able to actually jump. Then over here you have the translate. So this is what makes the player to be able to jump. So what I did was I put remember I told you about the jump speed, okay? So the jump speed is 2, is an integer, and I multiplied it by a vector, okay? So this is a vector multiplier. That's what we use here. So to get that, you just right click, you can type multiply, and then you go down to where you have integer vector 3 multiply, integer vector 3 multiply. So this one will give you something like this, and then you can be able. It will give you up to three parameters you're going to put. So you're going to use the y-axis. So the y-axis, I want it to be jumping up. So I'm putting 1.2. So that means the jump speed multiplied by the movement 1.2 up. Okay. Then if it does that, it's good as what will control the translation. So it's going to be moving upwards. Now, I did this to make it easy for me to change the jump. So in case, let's say, for example, I want the car to jump higher, all I need to do is just to go to my jump speed and increase the jump speed to 3 or 4, whatever I want. So if I want it to jump very high, I can change it here, and I won't have to go into this code inside here to come and start changing it. I don't need to do that. So then I have my, let me go back a bit and get hang of the code too. So snap out that one. Okay, so that we'll be seeing this code very, very well. So over here, I have my translate. So this is jump, it translates, move and slide. So in case it has an object at the top of it, it doesn't pass through it. And then it says plane. So this plane here, it's a jump and a jump audio that I actually added. So if you actually go to the main scene, that's where I got it from. So it's added in the main scene, and I had to now get the audio playback and drag here. So if you want to do something like that, just it's a very simple thing. So if you go into the main scene, you actually see that I have, let me just go to the main scene. I have it here. Let me see where I have my audio. So look at the audio here. So I have my jump audio, and let me. So if you look at here now, once you click on this, you actually see that you have the plane. So that's the plane here, set plane. So if you drag this out and just set plane, you can just, do this. So that means that whenever this thing jumps and this thing finishes, it's going to play the jump, and in the jump audio. So it's going to look, it's going to just keep on jumping and making the sound of a jump, making it more realistic. So this is like the effect of the game that makes the game more interesting for you to play. Now, for the gravity, so what we just talked about is how the character jumps. So for the gravity itself, you now have the gravity. Remember, I told you the gravity is actually a vector 3, and the vector 3 it's moving down. So if you look at it here, it's going down. Okay, so in case you're just joining us now, it's created from here, the variable. We are using visual scripting. So now, brought in the gravity, if you want to bring in, you just bring in from the variable that you have here, drag it in here, and you set a getter. So this time around, we're not using setter, we're using getter. You just drag it in here and get a getter. So that's how we got this. So when you bring it down, you're going to multiply it by the same multiplier that we use here. That's the vector multiplier that we use here, or the vector multiplier that we use. You do the same thing you do here. You just add the vector to this place, and then you add the delta to this place. So it's going to multiply it. So this is just basically a way of being able to slow it down so that it actually works more like a more realistic movement. Okay, if you just do it directly, it's not going to look good. So we'll have this here, and then we'll put this for the translate. So this is just like when it multiplies delta with the gravity, is going to translate. So the translation, now remember the gravity is moving downwards. So that's what is going to control the translate, and it's going to make the object or the character to begin to move downwards. And when it moves downwards, it's going to play the jump animation. So if it's moving downwards, it's going to act as if it's jumping, and then it's going to move and slide, meaning that it's going to, whenever it touches the floor, it's going to also make sure it doesn't pass through the floor, because without this, if it jumps, it can actually move through the floor, and that would be like, it's going to crash down. So that's basically how we created the simple character. So that character that we have here, this amazing character was created using this simple code that we have. Other things that we'll have is just the code for the camera, which we didn't really create. It was a phantom camera that did that for us. So if you have any question on the character, you can just go ahead to ask me, and I will answer any question on the character. So let's go into the bridge itself. So we are doing a complete dissecting of this bridge. So I have two bridges. This is the main bridge, the main bridge I created from the the main bridge I created from Meshi.ai because I use Meshi.ai to create this particular bridge. I created the first version of this. If you actually go to my channel, you actually see the first version of the game and how to create this particular one to make it more stylish and to also save my time. That's the reason why I use AI. AI is simply a tool for saving time. You already know what to do. You already know how to do it because sometimes you need to modify certain things. As a 3D artist, I can do that, but to save my time, I use this and it gave me exactly what I wanted. It was, very, very nice looking texture. Meshing the AI is quite very good. So now I create this here and now create a second version. So the second version here is now the multiplication or the multiply version of that same bridge. I had to add it twice. So if you actually look at this, you see that the bridge appeared twice. So look at that. And then in the bridge, I have collision shapes. So if you look at the sides, you have, let me look for the colliders. Okay, the static bodies. If you open them up, you actually see those things. Static body, and then you have the collision shapes that helps you to be able to do certain things. So you have that, okay. Let me check for the, let me see if I can find these ones. We have this, there's a bridge. I want to get the colliders. It is a bridge detector. We don't really need that one. We didn't really use it. I'm trying to get this blue collision. And look at the collision shapes. Okay, look at them. But I named them side. Okay, that's the thing. I was looking for the collision name. So that's the side. These are the colliders. So this is what I use to make sure the player doesn't fall off. Okay, these are the colliders I added. So you just add the collider on one side, duplicate it for the other side. To mean that even if the player jumps, he can't jump over this. So it's the player remains on the bridge always. So I had to make it to be two because I realized when I was creating the game, I realized that one of the bridges is a bit too short and for me to be able to create the illusion I wanted, I want it to be that once the game starts, the play is already running. I didn't want it to be like the player was jumping onto it. Okay, that was what I did at first, but I saw that sometimes when play is jumping, it's before the spawner and before the bridge spawns and comes to the place that the player will jump to. You know, sometimes it doesn't happen fast enough, and the player will just jump down and keep on falling always. So I have to make this to be a lot longer and so that also the spawning will take a bit of time. It doesn't keep on spawning very, very fast. So it spawns and then waits for a while. When this long one passes, it spawns another one. So you continuously have this flow of spawning of the bridges to make the character look as if it's actually running on a real bridge that is endless. Okay. So that's what I did here. And for the code, I simply just did something here. So this is the bridge deleter. So the bridge deleter I use is not the one that I have here. I didn't really use this one any longer. Let me see. The bridge deleter. This bridge deleter is not the right one that I used. I think I used this and I later removed it. But the real bridge deleter is the other one that I showed you at the beginning of this class. So this is the bridge deleter I use. Let me show you. I use a second bridge deleter but I tried to use that one, but it wasn't working the way I wanted, so I was meant to delete it. So this is the bridge deleter I use. So you see here, deleter bridge. So it's actually what I use to delete the bridge. Whenever the bridge reaches this position, it will actually just delete itself. If you actually open it, you actually see that it comes with a static body and a collider. Okay, so once it touches it, it just deletes. So that's just basically the thing here. And let me just go into this. So whenever it touches this, so this is what we used in making sure to optimize. This is how we optimize the game to make sure that as the bridges are spawning, that they don't keep on spawning and having multiple bridges in the game. So this particular code enables us to be able to keep on deleting any bridge that comes in. You just keep on deleting those bridge. Whenever it passes the player, it deletes that particular one. So I did this on bridge detector body entered. So this particular thing was created by simply having this. Okay, see how it was done. I think I understand. I remember right now. I think I missed something when I was explaining. So this particular one is the detector that detects the other bridge. Okay, this one here is actually this is the area body trading. Okay, this is an area body trading. The static body, the one in the main scene is the static body. So when this part of the bridge collides with that static body, that's when you delete. So that's what I did. I selected this, went into my node and went into signals, and look at that, body entered, and I just used connect to connect it to this code here. So I already had the code. I just created an empty code and did that. So that's how you create this particular function here, by selecting this bridge deleter and going to the node signal, clicking here and connecting it. So once you connect it, you have this. So that means that let me just go over here. When I say call is in group, so the call is in group is simply like a code that enables you to be able to check whether a particular thing is in a particular group. So it's going to check whether the object that is being touched is in a particular group. So I'm using the deleter bridge group. So I have already named that particular object to be deleter bridge. If you actually go to it, let me show you. If you go to this place here, let me see, deleter bridge, and you go to the group, you see that it's, sorry, look at the static body. You see it's under the deleter bridge. So this is what this code is actually checking for. And once it checks it and sees it, then it's going to, that's where the branch is, what the branch is doing. So you're going to pass this and pass it to the target and then pass it to the branch. So the branch will check whether this group, whether the object that is going to be touched is in group deleter. If this is true, then it's going to delay for 1 second and then it's going to queue free. Queue free means it's going to delete that bridge automatically. So that's, if you right click, you can get queue free. So that's queue free there. So this is for deleting objects. So if you have a bullet, maybe you shoot and you want the bullet to be deleted at a particular time, maybe if it touches a body, then you can delete it. That's the queue free you're going to use in visual scripting to do that. So over here is the main thing in the game. From a physics process, I now call a translate, and I have an infinite motion. So this is how we're able to create the motion of the bridge to keep on moving continuously towards us. So it keeps on moving continuously towards us, it doesn't stop. And when it keeps on coming, that is how we keep on, growing and, keep on going in a game. We don't stop in the game because that's just how it works. So over here we'll have the I'm just going to just so that's all for the code for the bridge. So it's just a very simple thing. Then for the demon's call, okay, the demon's call, I did the same thing. If you look at the demon's call, I have the demon's call itself is actually a node 3D, but this one is an area 3D. So the main call itself, because this was created using Mesh.ai today too. So I had to use AI to be able to create this amazing head with wings, or skull with wings. So I selected this and then went to my node, went to my signal and connected the body entered. And when I connected it, I connected to this particular place, to the code here. And once you do that, it's going to give you this. And I told you, whenever you collide with the player, now there are two, I did two of it. So the first one was that if you collide with the player, if it checks, then it's going to set the value of my light. Now, this value here, let me show you something here. If you look at this value, let me say, click on get value. So the value here is I called it authority at first. The authority is actually the life, okay, of the player. The authority to be able to be alive in that spiritual bridge, that phantom bridge. So that's the life here. So the life is going to, whenever it touches the player, the life of the player goes down by one. So I did here minus. So if you just right click and say subtract, and you go to integer, this is what you get. So once you get it, you can be able to actually connect I connected the first one, that's actually the value of the variable. Now, there are other things, other codes that we'll have here in the main. Let me see if I can find it. I think this is in the UI. Let me see the UI. Let's get to the UI. The UI is somewhere down here. Okay, look at the UI there. So if you go to the UI, you actually see that I have, let me click on it. Okay, so you have the life here, look at it there. So this life is what was used. So if you look at this life was exported. So I was able to connect this life from here. So if you actually come in here and select this, you actually see that you can have access to this life here. So this is what I use to connect it, drag this into the code. If you actually go to your demon's call, okay, and click here, go back to this, you actually see that you have access to it. So you can drag this here and just drop this here and say get value, and that's it. Okay, so you get a life. Okay, so but the value I use here, I think the value here is actually the value of the life. So this value here is a progress bar. I think this progress bar, that's it there. Okay, so that's progress bar that I use. So I just use the value. I think that's the value. Okay, look at it there. The value, just drag this into this place. So, and you have the value. So I told the value to be decreased. So this just controls what you're seeing in the front. Okay, what it shows you on the UI. So that's what I did here. So it decreases the value of the life, of the value of the progress bar. Okay, that's it, set value of the progress bar. And then it sets playing. So look at the playing here. And then it sets visible. Now, this is a very important part. So this thing that it says visible now, it's this should be, let me check which particular code this is. The visibility setting here. Okay, it sets the score, that score to become invisible. Now, I had an issue where if I try to do cure free for my player or for my enemy, that's the demon's call, I discovered that it usually has an issue. So what I had to do was to set it invisible. So that's what I did at first here. So let me see what is happening here. The one it touches the player, it sets invisible. Yep. And then is going to trying to see the particular code I use for this invisible here. I don't think that's it. I think there is something I'm setting invisible here. I can't remember this particular code. And then I have here the set emitting. I think I'll have to trace this particular code for me to see where it's coming from. This set visible here. I think this first set visible should be for I forgot to put a comment here. This one here is for the splash. Okay, the splash is the splash of the blood, of the player. Okay, they emit it. So once it touches it just emits. So, but this particular code here, I think I will have to trace it. I will trace it very soon. So, over here we'll have another one. Whenever it also touches it, if it is deleter, remember we said whenever it touches deleter on the screen, if it is the deleter, then it's going to check it and it will delete it. Okay, so this will actually delete the entire score completely from the. Okay, I think this will set it invisible, but then still when it touches the player, when it touches the enemy deleter, it will actually also still delete it. It's still going to do the cure free for it. So because I think I had an issue here, that's the reason why I use this for the visibility to make it invisible, but it still gets deleted when it moves and touches it, even though it's invisible. So now this is another illusion I created, which is actually a physics process. And this physics process makes the enemy score to keep on infinitely moving continuously. It just keeps on moving endlessly. So that's what it does here, and that is how we're able to make the enemy to keep on coming to us. So that's for the demon's call and everything. So we'll have the animation. Other thing we added to it was the animation. We animated it moving, so it's not going to be just be static. We animated it to be moving. You just simply here, click on animation, click on a new animation, and then you select your translate your body. We actually use the main. I think I use this mesh here, and let me see what I use. The position of the skull. Okay, that's the skull is what I use. I use the skull and then I say animating it. If you look at the value here, the values are changing as this thing is moving. So I animated it so that as it's coming, it's just going to be moving. Because I realized when I finished designing the game, I realized that it was just, it kept on moving and it wasn't doing anything very serious. It was just static and it wasn't interesting. So I had to do this so it's going to look a bit as if it's coming to attack you. So something like that. And then I use animation tree to be able to control it. So over here I have the treasure. The treasure, the same thing is what I did here. I have a treasure holder which is a node 3D, and I have a treasure itself which is an area 3D, and then I added the signal, a body entire signal. I did the same thing that like I did for other body. So you have the same player. If you check it, it's going to set the value of the progress bar, okay, to plot. This time around, it's going to be increasing it. And then it sets the plane, and the plane here is the life, because there is something that whenever you touch the treasure, it gives you life and it plays a sound. This sound is in the main scene. So it sets it invisible. So I still have this set of invisible visibility here. Okay, yeah, it's the same thing. It sets it to become invisible. That's the treasure itself to become invisible, and also emits the light or the this light I actually created for the particle system. I explained this at the beginning of this life. It emits a blue light. There is one that emits a blue light. There is one that emits a red light. So this one emits a blue light when you actually acquire a new treasure. So it just emits it for you. Then here we'll have the treasure body entered. The same thing you have, call is in group. Let me bring this down a bit so that I will have more space and you can see what I'm doing very well. So he's going to check the same thing. He's going to check for deleter. So when he touches deleter again, he's going to delete it completely. And then also is going to be moving. Once the game starts, the treasure just starts coming. Once it's spawned, it just keeps on coming to the player. So this is the interesting part. This is what makes the game more alive. So once the game starts, it's going to while loop. So I use a while loop here. You can also use a timer for this, but I use a while loop first. In the previous game, in the second game I did, Teeny Fishy, I tried to mod another game in that. So you have the while loop. That's why I use the timer there, but I use a while loop here. So once you select this while loop and you check this, it means an infinite loop. So it's going to delay for about, I think this should be 1 or 2 seconds. Let me see. Okay, this is what I did here. So it's going to delay for a range of time. So if you look at here, and I have a range. So if you right click and you do range, you see that you have range of integer number, run the range. So that's the range of integer number. So I have from 2 to 6. So it is going to wait for a range of time, and then it's going to instantiate a child. So this instantiates the treasure, and then it's going to make it a child. This is the idea of the spawning of the child. So if you actually go to my channel, you see how the spawn character, that's the same code, instantiate and add as a child. So now look at the interesting part here. This is how I was able to create a random spawning of the treasures. So the treasures were not spawning at interval, maybe every 1 second or every 2 seconds. It was changing. Sometimes it comes in 1 second, sometimes it comes in 2 seconds, another time 4, sometimes 6 seconds, to make it random. So this, like a way of I was able to get to look something unpredictable, because you don't want your game to be predictable. You want it to be a bit unpredictable so that you can be able to each time feel something new, because that's part of the game design process. So you want the player to be able to feel something new each time they're playing it. So it's not like they're playing the game and the same thing they have seen before is what they see again and again. So I use this random to be able to create the random, creation of the player, of the treasure that the player is actually receiving all the time. So after that, that's just basically how this is controlled. So this is just a spawner. There's nothing there, just a node. I had to instantiate that into the game. If you actually go to the back of this scene, you actually see it there. Let me show you here. Somewhere at the back of that our door. That's where you actually get it. They are actually invisible, so you won't see them. So they are just here. I've shown all those I said with us in this live at the beginning here, just the things here, you can just have it there. So they are invisible. Let me see if I can select any of them. Okay, see, oh no, I can't even select them. I have to select them from this place before I can see them because they are quite invisible. So now we'll have the treasure. Okay, the treasure spawner, that's what treasure spawner does. The wall dome is just simply a dome that I created using AI too, and it was quite very fantastic. I just made it to be for the floors. So we'll have the lamp, and the lamp is just a light that I actually added in the front of the door to make it look, to give it this kind of, look that makes it look, magical. And then the door itself also created with AI, and it was quite, this would have taken a lot of time to do in Blender, but I did this in less than 3 minutes inside Mesh.ai. Then here we have the cut screen. So the cut screen is our video. So I created a video using, I use Meta AI to create a video, a movie. Let me see the movie itself, and then use my VLC player to convert it into a .ogv file. So if you want to know how to be able to add cut screens using videos, I have a video on my channel for that, the updated version. There is an old version for 3.5, but I have an updated version I use, so you can be able to go there to do that. And then I have the skip button, so if you don't want to watch the video, you can skip the video. So this is where I put the story of Ikemba. That's the title, the Ikemba story, okay? So I had to generate the storyline and animated. I used AI to generate much of it and created the audios and everything and rendered it into a video format. I used CapCut to edit my videos, rendered it, and then used VLC to convert it into an OGP file and then imported it into this place. If it's not an .ogv file, it's not going to work in Godot engine. So just know that if you're using a normal MP4 file, it's not going to be showing. So this is the cut screen, and once the game starts, it's going to play the sound. So this is what I did. So once the movie finished playing, it's going to switch immediately. This change scene, gets scene, and then it changes to the main scene. It starts the game automatically. So this thing was, how I did this was, if you right click and you go to scene and you get your scene tree, you can just drag this out from here. Make sure you drag it out from there. Type change and you get your change scene from file, and then you can get your resource. You can just type resource and get resource part, and then you can just select this and then go and get the scene you want to, whatever scene you want to use. You go to where it is, maybe if you have a scene, any scene you want to use, and then you connect this to this, connect that to that, connect this one to this one, and connect that one to this one. That's how you do it, okay? So it's a very simple process. It's very simple. The same thing we did here on skip button. So remember we added a button on the screen, this button here, and then we now do this button. We now say this button, if you click on it and you go to your node, you see that I have my press signal. So I connected it to this code. So once you connect it, you tell it, it's also changed whenever it's clicked. If you change the scene file, okay, to the main too, that's another one. I also did something here, physics process. So also made in such a fashion that if you also press your cancel, the escape key on your keyboard is also going to change it to main. So, and then it's going to change automatically. Forget about this instantiate. It's not really necessary. Okay. So, but basically, this is used for changing the scene. So there are three ways to change the scene. You can either wait for the cut screen story or the story of the game to play to the end, or you can click on escape. So I did this in case you don't want to click, okay? You want to just, press escape on your keyboard. That's the thing you can be able to do. So that's just basically what I did here. Then for the start game, this the interesting part. So once the game starts, so I have my splash screen for the games. These buttons were created using Inkscape.